All right, everybody, welcome to the Point Five Show, the bonus show, overflow show of the Pennyman Doctrine podcast. We are back again, and today you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn today. We need that sound.
Yeah,
we need that sound. Today we have a wonderful, awesome the Pennyman Doctrine podcast and host of her own show, Musings of Shibe. Today we have Hiroja Shibe, again from the Musings of Shibe podcast. How are you, Hiroja?
I'm doing well. How are you guys today?
We're here standing, and we're sitting, and we're still strong.
Well,
taken away from Antoine Fisher.
Well, that's good to know. It's a little hot out here in California, so I can't complain too much.
You know what? I would be, but it's hot out here, and
it's 72, which is like perfect.
California, you win because that matters.
It does matter. Well, we don't have humidity; we have just straight heat. So it's like 80, almost 85 degrees. I think the highest was 90 today. It's about to get towards the 100. Like I live in the desert, so it's about to get the hot weather and stuff. And
so you're like,
I'm baking.
Desert Palm.
Yeah, out in the Palm Springs area. Yes.
Hello?
Hi. I thought you guys were playing the Frozen game again.
I think. Oh no.
No.
It was.
You guys are playing the Frozen game.
No, but you said you're from Bacon?
No,
it is baking.
It is baking, but I like the heat. But my dogs don't really deal with the heat well.
Right.
Yeah.
So you must be a fan of Arizona then.
I've been to Arizona. I don't mind the weather, but the people I can do without.
You agree with you. Actually, I disagree with you. I can't do Arizona, and I can't do the people. So fuck Arizona. That's.
Well, they have very gorgeous parks out there.
What's that, Molly?
Unless you're a listener of ours from Arizona, and then you don't.
I mean, yes. If you're a listener from Arizona, hurrah!
Oh my God.
But how with you?
I'm doing well. I just did an episode about Silk Road that should be coming up because they just sentenced Ross Ulbricht for life imprisonment, and that's a kind of a big deal because he's one of the really the first pioneers in the cryptocurrency space. If those who are not familiar, that utilize Bitcoin as the only payment method for the type of service he provided. Which, if anyone who's not familiar with Silk Road, was primarily a drug market, but not exclusively a drug market on the Tor network, which is the dark web or the deep web of the internet. And he's going to life in prison. And the biggest heartbreak of the whole thing is that a lot of this is just the federal government wanting to prosecute this man for political purposes. Yes, he did commit some crimes. Drug trafficking is a crime. Whether you agree with it or not, it is. Technically, it is. But they gave him life. And then you have like the bank industry, which was actually money laundering and caught money laundering by the federal government, and nobody went to prison, and they really didn't do a significant fine against them. And he has a $200 million fine that he has to pay. And it's just kind of a sad case.
I was not familiar with Russ Ulbricht. I was trying to look into it, but you were saying that, was he using cryptocurrency to do the drug transactions? Is that what you're talking about?
Basically what it was is he set up a site similar to, the best analysis I can give you is eBay. and he was the site provider, and you can list your product, whatever it was, on his site, and he took a commission cut, just like eBay does. And the only way you could pay for goods and the only way you could sell for goods was with Bitcoin, which at the time that he put up the website, which was in 2011, which was January, but some say February, but it was January. Bitcoin at the time was trading around 30 cents. So people were buying Bitcoin, buying their drugs, and it became like this cycle. And because of this site alone, Bitcoin jumped up to $30. By the end of the year, it was trading close to 60. By the end of the next year, it was around 100. And by 2013, when he was caught, Bitcoin was trading at $1,000 a coin. And a lot of it was due to the fact that a heavy usage of his site where people were using Bitcoin for the purchase of drugs. The federal government states that about $1 billion of monetary value was done on his site. And there's a lot of other things, like he was unindicted charges for murder for hire. But it turns out that he may have not been involved in that at all. It was actually two crooked federal agents, one a DA agent and one a Secret Service agent, that were setting him up and stealing money from him. And yes, entrapment. There was a clear case of entrapment, because basically what they did was the Secret Service agent, because these two guys were buddies. The main perpetrator is the DA agent, Mark Force. He had a Secret Service agent buddy arrest this main vendor who was based in Utah and who was a Mormon, who was selling painkillers on the site. And he was a main vendor on the site, and he had certain privileges and credentials. The Secret Service busted in on him. I don't know exactly how the Secret Service has anything to do with drug trafficking, but he was involved. The Secret Service was involved, and they took his credentials. They pretended to blackmail Ross Ulbricht. And then the other guy, Mark Force, said, "Hey, Ross, you need to get rid of this guy. You need to put a hit on him, or he's gonna give out all this information about Silk Road, and you're gonna get busted." And Ross Ulbricht allegedly said, "Yes, why don't you put a hit on him?" But no hit was actually taking place. Nobody was killed or anything like this. It was a part of an elaborate blackmail entrapment DA scandal. But these two guys, they turn around and they end up stealing money from all sorts of different cryptocurrency sites, funneling money. When they caught Mark Force, he had a go bag and a plan to leave the country. And so there's a lot of negative energy associated with this case. So, but
right, and I'm guessing that doesn't do well for the image of cryptocurrency either.
It doesn't do well for the image, but because so many people, legitimate businesses, have backed this, like Overstock, Dell, Expedia, there's a lot of legitimate businesses that are backing this, because the inherent value of Bitcoin is the math. And basically what it is, if you're unfamiliar with Bitcoin, is if you think of your email, or when you used to file share, when people used to trade music from one another, you just traded across the internet through Napster or something like that. Is a basic principle, but instead of you being able to copy your photo from your friend's Facebook page or anything like that, there's only one Bitcoin that ever exists. And so you can't copy it, you can't break it, you can't crack into it. And so it's a very good transfer of money wealth across the internet. You don't have to worry about people stealing from you, taking your identity, credit card fraud, or anything like that. You can just hand it over the internet like cash. And this is a scary aspect of the government, is that they're concerned about this, because even though they can trace it through the public ledger, which is an aspect of Bitcoin, it empowers people individually to have control of their own wealth. And if you have control of your own wealth, then you're not going to have things where you have all this stuff with the financial system where they can do all these, the mortgages, and they taking these bad loans and bundling them and reselling them and doing all this stuff and just messing up the economy. They can't do that with this type of system, because everything is tracked and traced. And with Bitcoin, and then what Ross Ulbricht has proven, is that people can buy and purchase things online without the government being fully aware of all the transactions. Because there was no one bank that they can go to and say, stop sending this money to these people, like they did with WikiLeaks about, shutting down that site, saying, Visa, MasterCard, you can't let your customers swipe your card and send money to WikiLeaks. There was no way to shut it down. And so it's a lot about fear and control, which is pretty much what the war on drugs is about.
Right. I mean, right. And, as far as the drug part of it, I definitely definitely understand why that would be like a thing that would be on the government's radar.
Mm-hmm.
But on a back a bit, I can't even. This is one thing in the walking encyclopedia that I have very little entries on, because Molly calls me the walking encyclopedia, and you know, I do know a lot, but I don't quite. I get the basics, but I don't even. No, I don't.
He doesn't know shit.
I don't get. Wait, what?
Just checking.
No, don't do that. Well, I don't know why you're doing that.
No, he doesn't know shit about. He doesn't know shit about Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, I don't know shit about Bitcoin.
I don't like how you put my phone down here.
Because you're covering your face on the camera.
Yeah, because I've got so many
Oh
chins.
my god. So you know, kind of go over like what cryptocurrency is, and like, because my thing that I didn't get was like, how do you? So what is it? We'll start with that.
And give us like the version like for dummies.
No, for Molly. That's what it is.
Well,
Give us the version for dummies.
the best version I can give to you is that this individual, nobody knows who this person is an anonymous individual named Satoshi Nakamoto, published an idea where you can send money basically over the internet in a very secure fashion without anyone stealing it, taking it from you, copying it, or, you know, counterfeiting, which we have with paper currency. And he called it Bitcoin, and he called it the Bitcoin protocol. And basically what he did is when he created this program, he created it to where there's only 21 million coins ever existed. It utilizes a cryptocurrency, a type of math that protects it from being broken into, from being copied and being messed with. It is everything that is done on a public ledger. So if you ever wanted to know, just kind of like with data and everything with Facebook and stuff like that, where you have everyone's timeline and everyone can see everything. Well, think of that applied to money, where you can see from one Bitcoin address to another Bitcoin address how much money is moved around. And if you think about it in the sense, like, you actually know, for example, if this technology was applied to government, you know where people are spending their money. And the thing that he did with it, which is very important, is he enabled it and allowed for anyone to come onto the network. Anyone can participate. Just like you can go on Twitter or Facebook or any of these places. If you have an internet connection, you become part of Bitcoin. There is no financial authority that's saying you need to have an ID, social security card, a utility bill. You've had bad credit, so we're not going to give you a bank account unless it's charged, you know, a certain interest rate or a certain down payment down. You know, like you have to have like a $500 into your account in order to open it or anything like that. You just have to have an internet connection, and you can participate. You can buy it, you can sell it, you can trade it, you can spin it, you can do whatever you want with it within the network. And this is very freeing, because for the first time ever in the history of the world, the individual has control of their monetary wealth. No king, no government, there's no banking institution, whether it's a central, community, however you want to put it, controls the monetary wealth. The individual does. And what happened was, with this idea, is it spread, it grew traction, and because of that, it has grown wealth. I mean, one Bitcoin right now is trading at $230. At one point in time, it was traded for $1,000. You can buy and purchase things like homes, cars, plane tickets. You can invest it into companies. You can trade it. It's taxed by the U.S. government. So it's heavily regulated. Not say heavily regulated, but it is regulated. It is legal. And the government doesn't control it. Nobody controls it. It's controlled by the community. It's controlled by everyone who participates in the network, which is a global thing. So no one person has a say in the monetary policies of Bitcoin.
So I know I've heard like little tiny bits about Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the one podcast I listen to, Mysterious Universe, talks about Bitcoin quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, they were saying something about how, like, not that it's dangerous to use Bitcoin, but like that it's risky or something. Like, I don't even know if that's accurate.
It's risky if you think of it as if you were an investment, like if you invested like in stocks, like people say invest in this company, invest in Amazon or Apple. A lot of these a lot of those come with risk, and some people treat Bitcoin as an investment because of the principles that are associated with it. But that's not what it's for. It's not supposed to be a storage value like a savings account or a stock. It's meant to be used like cash. It's meant to be you go down in the corner store, you buy your cigarettes, you hand your cash, and you walk away. That's it. That's what is meant to do. And when people become part of it and they think it's going to be easy money, that's when they kind of lose their heads and think that they're going to be like multimillionaires overnight and stuff. And so there's a risk involved in that. Is the people's greed, really.
So then how do you accumulate it? That's the part that I can't wrap my head around. Like,
well, right now,
unless
you have a significant like money or tech expertise, you have to purchase it. And there's places called exchanges where you can purchase it, or you can purchase it through a service called Local Bitcoin, where people that have already mined it or already purchased it will sell it to you directly. You can earn Bitcoin if you have an employer that is willing to pay you in Bitcoin. There's types of services and employers that are already starting to do that. And you can sell goods over the internet and receive Bitcoin that way. You can get tipped in Bitcoin. I've been tipped in Bitcoin. I've actually purchased Bitcoin over the internet and used both a local peer-to-peer thing and using a credit card. So those are the ways you can obtain Bitcoin, just like you would for any other type of monetary system, like how you get paid by your employer or how you sell your goods and services and things of that nature. The same economic principles apply to Bitcoin.
But so you're saying that they're going for like $230 each?
That's on the stock market.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's divisible, just like a dollar is divisible into 100 pennies, dimes, and things of that nature. So it could be broken up into small chunks to however you spend. Like, and think of the sense like if you want to spend $25 worth of Bitcoin, you send somebody that decimal point amount of Bitcoin. And a lot of the wallets do the math for you. So all you have to do is hit 25 USD, and the wallet automatically computes however much Bitcoin needs to be taken away from your account, and it sends it. So like
you use a bit of your Bitcoin.
Yeah, a bit of your Bitcoin. Yes. And they're called bits, actually. So, yeah.
Makes sense.
You got lucky on that one.
I know. Oh no.
So is the price of how much Bitcoin costs determined by the market, or does it cost certain? Does it have different prices certain places you go?
It does have certain prices in different places you go. Just like if you were to purchase a TV and you kind of price shop, whether you go to Walmart, Target, Best Buy, Amazon for that whatever brand of TV. Yes, with the different exchanges, a lot of it has to do with the market value, about how many people are using Bitcoin, what merchants and companies are out there accepting Bitcoin. Just like with any kind of marketplace, that's how the value of it increases and decreases over time. What is happening now is going through a pretty strong stability period to where the fluctuation of the price has not significantly gone through like $100 spikes. It's mostly been 20, 30, 40 increments. And it seems that right now Bitcoin is selling around to being around either being between $200 and $250 in value. And if it stays to a certain specific price point, which I think is probably going to be the $200 mark, you're going to see a lot more people using it because it's attainable for them to shell out $200 to have this particular coin and use it on the internet to purchase goods and services.
Okay.
So, like, what are the benefits of?
Well, think of it this way. Like, my mother recently, because of the Home Depot hack that happened last year, she had to change all of her account information because she swiped her card during Christmas time, and there was a potential that her account information was out there being sold repeatedly, and her account could easily be depleted if someone were ever to, take the funds out of her account. She has had to do that like 5 times in the last 3 years because of credit card hacks, of her going to a store or a place of business and then hacking the accounts of their customers. So there's a benefit of that, where if you think about transaction over the internet and you're worried about your credit getting dinged, if you're worried about your information being just pushed out there all over the world, it's like cash. When you go to the store, your clerk is not asking for your name and address and an ID so you can for your information attached to that cash. You just hand the cash over and the transaction is done. It's also very fast. Well, Bitcoin's a little slow, but Dogecoin's faster. It's like 6 minutes for the transaction to be complete, which is very fast when it comes to the internet. And credit cards, most people don't realize, even though the merchant accepts your credit card, it can take anywhere, depending on how large the company is and what deals they have with the credit card company, actually up to 4 weeks for that actual money to be in the hand of the merchant. With Bitcoin and Dogecoin, it's within that same day. So they have money in hand just like cash.
You kind of cut out a little bit at the time, right when you were going to say how long it takes the credit card transaction to go through. How long does it actually take?
For most merchants to actually receive, like when you swipe your card at the merchant place and you still get your goods and services, the agreement with the credit card company is that within 4 weeks, that merchant's going to get that money. It takes 4 weeks for on average for that merchant to receive that swipe of their credit card. Unless they're a really large company where they have like some kind of extra deal, the average is 4 weeks. With Bitcoin and Dogecoin, the cryptocurrencies, it's just like cash. It's same day, cash in hand. And so that's a great benefit for merchants.
Yeah, yes. It makes sense now knowing why some places don't accept credit.
Yeah.
Especially American Express. American Express takes fucking forever just to do shit for me.
Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks for American Express.
Yeah, see.
Jeez.
That's why when they return it to you, it takes like 8 days. Like if you cancel a transaction. Remember when I was in Atlanta?
Maybe you shouldn't be buying double breakfasts in Atlanta.
I didn't buy a double breakfast in Atlanta. I went to Atlanta and the
I still don't understand why they charged you again, why they didn't just never mind.
No, they didn't charge me again. It charged it
for the whole meal.
For the meal. And then she tried to put it back and she returned it, but American Express took, I think it was like 8 to 12 days for it to send me the money back.
Yeah, and that could be a very, very big issue for people because it can shortchange their account. It can mess up their funds. If you think about merchants, when they get the chargebacks, I mean, there's people that, you send the goods out and they go, oh, no, I didn't really do this. And they call up their credit card company and the credit card company is like, okay, if this didn't happen, here's your money back. And the merchant doesn't get that money. And so there's a lot of places that don't accept credit cards and debit cards for that reason.
Right. I got you. One thing that I guess it would make sense that you would be able to, with US dollars or whatever currency you have, to be able to buy cryptocurrency. But the mining aspect is the thing that caught my attention because I'm like, a video game? Like, it's not a video game, obviously, but it's like I could play a game and get Bitcoin and accumulate Bitcoin. And then, like you were saying, it was almost, $1,000, a coin, I guess?
Yeah, 1,000 a coin, yes.
So if you were able to mine it and do this little, I keep calling it a game. You obviously could probably explain it better, but you're just like, that is like free dough. So kind of. So,
it's very much like free dough. If you were an early adopter for Bitcoin, it was very much like free dough. There's people that are millionaires because of this, because they started out early and they sold when it was just $100 and they had like a million coins or 10,000 or 100,000 coins. I mean, when they caught Ross Ulbricht, he had 700,000 Bitcoins with him on his laptop that he had access to. And at the time, it was $31.4 million. Now it's up to $150 million, which means he can somewhat pay back the government that $200 million fine that he has to pay. I think it might be a little bit higher. I think when it comes out to it with the fees and the fines and stuff like that, I think he's left with a $17.4 million bill left over from his Bitcoin seize, and they took that into account. But so that's just 700,000 Bitcoins. And there's one account that supposedly Satoshi Nakamoto has $1 million in it, an account that at one point in time was worth $1 billion in USD at the height of the $1,000. So go ahead.
I was going to say the mining, is that are you still able to mine and how does that work?
You are still able to mine, but you have to have specialized equipment called ASIC chips, and you have to have a series of them. And what it is you run a specific software program that, when pretty much what it is when you're a miner is you benefit the network. You're processing all the transactions, like you think of all the credit card transactions that go through the vendors and stuff like that. You're doing that for Bitcoin, and because you're processing that information, your reward is Bitcoin. So because you participate in the network, you're getting rewarded Bitcoin. And each block that is done, they're called blocks, there's 25 Bitcoin in them. And people, join mining pools and do stuff like that. And they're rewarded, portions of the blocks that they find. And for Bitcoin, it's very difficult now because so many people are part of the network. They're all trying to obtain, a portion of a Bitcoin and build up and acquire that wealth. But there's other cryptocurrencies out there, which is much easier, that you can actually use a computer and use graphic cards that you normally people use to process for their video games. And you can mine and acquire wealth and, trade it on the open market or use it. And actually, there's a lot of people that are very successful in doing that. So you can mine at home. I think Dogecoin, yeah.
I might have to get me a graphics card up in this motherfucker. Yeah. That was a weird laugh. All right, go ahead, Molly.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say it looks like that we're about to start something new, but I think you covered it.
Oh, yeah, we about to be Bitcoin pimps in this motherfucker.
Yeah, there's actually some, because there's different types of math for each cryptocurrency. There's some that are specifically designed for just the home user, just the everyday person that has a PC at home and doesn't have the extra money to build a specialized mining equipment. They've done the math so that you have to have a PC in order to mine it. And so that makes it easier for everyday people to mine the coin and participate in the network. So
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And so, when it comes to your show, how did that start? Like what, you're what, episode 63?
Yeah, I just recorded episode 65. I think 64 should be coming out pretty soon, or tomorrow. But basically what it started out was I've been listening to a lot of Bitcoin podcasts, and they're pretty good, but they're very technical, and you have to do a lot of research or already have an understanding of computers. And I was also in the Dogecoin community, which is completely separate from Bitcoin, even though they're kind of tied together. And it's much more fun, more laid back. People are more willing to sit down and explain to you what a GPU is, how to operate a mine. They're more willing and more patient to kind of talk to the everyday person that has no idea what anything is about computers or anything about cryptocurrency, and make it fun and exciting. And I didn't see anything in the podcast space for people that were like that might be interested in cryptocurrency but have no idea what a GPU is, have no idea what cryptographic means. And so I wanted it to be fun. I wanted it to be exciting. I wanted to talk about all the different terms and aspects of, Dogecoin and cryptocurrency, but also about all the different tech stuff that's happening right now. I mean, we're living in a pretty exciting time when it comes to technology. I mean, we're on a cusp where things are really radically changing the world around us, from like robots to gene therapy that can, change a person's existence from, having a very horrible disease to weird stuff to where you have specialized people coming into existence. And so I talk about that on the show when it comes up, and it has any kind of intersection with cryptocurrencies.
Got you. So is there like a crazy superhero origin story for Musings of Shibe?
I guess when it comes to podcasting stuff, like I've listened to podcasts off and on since you had to plug in on, an iPod into your computer and wait like an hour or two for your episode to download. And then I consistently had one, but I mostly listened to music a lot. And then I was messing around YouTube, and I saw that podcasts were on there. I was like, I have this iPod, I have this little thing. Why don't I start listening to podcasts? And as I was listening more and more of them and listening to how their origin stories start, and realized there was a void in Dogecoin, I was like, I can do this. It doesn't actually take that much time or energy, because when I looked into podcasting and realized that it's pretty economical for me to do, it wasn't as expensive as I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to have to buy like all these mixing boards and microphones and all this computer space. And I was like, I should have done this sooner because this was so much fun
Right.
just talking into the microphone.
It is. And you know, I think it's been a while. It's been 147 episodes since I've explained my origin story, and we don't have those episodes anymore.
Oh,
Because I fucked up, and yeah, right. That deserves a.
Oh no!
I fucked up in the first 10 episodes I recorded on my mom's netbook because that's the only computer thing that I had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when she wanted it back, I cleared out the stuff that I had put on there, and that was the first 10 episodes. So I think I literally cannot get, unless people have them archived and downloaded. I can't get. My first 10 shows are out in the ether somewhere, and then
Yeah.
unfortunately for both of us, I would say, but mainly me, I spilled
Red wine,
like a
20 ounces,
like
a pint.
yeah, probably about this big glass of wine all over Molly's older computer, and that, I think the hard drive is still usable, but we lost about a good 40 episodes, 35.
Where does this one even start? I think we start here in like the 70s.
So we lost a good bit, 60, 50, 60 episodes. So, you know, mainly people know the main brunt of our audience knows us from probably about episode 40-ish on when Molly came on. That's
38.
That's when things got better. They got better. Let's be real. Oh, you gotta find it. Yeah, right there.
Well, obviously.
So, you know, because obviously I could.
Well, obviously.
I could talk for days about shit that people are just like.
Yeah.
I fell asleep at, you know, GDP. What? So, you know.
GDP.
Gross domestic product.
Oh, not what I was thinking.
Wow.
Phrasing.
So my origin story basically is, obviously, I'm not doing it again. Obviously, I care a lot about American politics and just people understanding how things work, you know, so we can have just like a better society and whatnot. And
block technology is something that is being utilized to better politics right now in South America. I want to say it's either Venezuela or Argentina. There's an experiment that's being done to where they're using block technology, which is the principles, the mathematics underlying Bitcoin and all cryptocurrencies basically, to secure the vote. So you'll be able to, as an individual, you'll have what is called a public and private key, which I didn't get into because it's a little complicated to explain. But basically what it is just like your password and that only you have access to, and your public key is your name. You go to the voting booth, you enter your private password, you vote, it goes onto the public ledger and it's secure. No one can tamper it, no one can alter it, no one can say that you didn't vote or you voted a different way. Once it's entered, it's done. It's permanent.
Remember, I was sorry to cut you off. I was telling you months ago that's how we needed to set up voting.
Yeah. I mean,
it exists.
It should really be that easy.
And it is that easy. And they're doing an experiment down in, I'm not sure which South American country they're doing it, but they're trying it out in a couple of their towns for the purpose of securing the electoral vote. There's a few countries in Europe where they're just their town hall meetings. That's how they're doing their voting, where they put it up to the public and the public votes on whether or not this is an issue that can go forward. So there is effort underway right now where there's all sorts of different companies and organizations that are experimenting and testing and doing the math and trying to break the system to secure the effort of the vote, to prevent any tampering or any falsehoods and stuff like that. That eventually, if this were to go on a wide scale like a country, that it's not going to crash and it's not going to break down, and you're not going to have any issues. Because I've done politics before where you are very suspicious about the type of votes that have been cast, and there's no way
like the 2000 election.
Well, here's the thing about the 2000 election that people need to understand. The whole rigging of the vote really has been an American pastime for, I would say, like a century and a half. And really what has been done is it's never, except for JFK, if you believe those stories, is never really reached a national level where whoever party was able to successfully rig the vote or stuff the ballots, if you say, enough to where it was very obvious that there was stuff, the vote being stuffed. And that's what happened in 2000. Both parties got their pants, they were caught with their pants down on that particular election, and they panicked. Both sides panicked in that election because they feared that the American people were going to realize that the vote's rigged. And it was. I mean, people realized that the vote was rigged, and they were very pissed. And there was a panic going on, and I guess you can say that Bush came on top of that because of that panic. But it's shocking that it never happened sooner, and it's shocking that the vote was as small as it was, or not even smaller. I mean, if you think about it, it was 200 votes. I'm surprised it wasn't like 50 or 5.
Right.
To be perfect.
And those 200 votes changed the whole fucking. God, the shit pisses me off. But that's my thing. Like as a young black man in the United States of America, it is tough to try to get my peer group to understand what is going on, because one, it's not pretty. Two, it can be a little complex and a little heady because nobody pays attention. And three, we're miseducated on purpose, so we don't question things and we don't, allow for change, because if that were to happen, then I don't know. Everybody would be able to be good. I don't understand what the point of.
Well, I personally believe that used to be a truism until about, I would say, the 2008. And what you ended up seeing was you saw a significant swell of the youth vote, but you also saw a significant swell of the millennials, who propelled Barack Obama, telling the establishment that we're not asking your permission, we're not cooperating, we're not taking half measures, and we don't give a fuck what you think about. We're just doing this. And that's how Barack Obama got, won the election. It's because of technology, it's because of the youth movement, the millennials, really, that pushed him forward into the spotlight. And as a result of him being in the spotlight, the primary voters, the baby boomers who saw him and saw who he was and saw that he reflected their values more so than Hillary Clinton, voted for him. And ever since then, the baby boomers, the establishment, because that's who's in charge right now, the powers that be are the baby boomers. Don't let them fool you. They're trying to make it seem like it's some other type of group of people, but they're the ones who are empowered.
Right.
That's that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That pisses me off more than anything. I've been saying F baby boomer since I was like 7 years old, but
yes. Oh my God. That's the basis of my whole show. It's
I have a Tumblr page that says fuck baby boomers or F baby boomers. And I post a few things, but I haven't done really much in it. I was just pissed at one time because I think it was in 2013, they were doing like the JFK once again memorializing him, but also the Beatles came to America, and I was like, Jesus Christ. I've been hearing about the Beatles since I was so little. Get over it. I'm so sick of them hijacking the culture and having very disrespectful for the younger generation, not being able to come in and having their own cultural say for the moment in time that they're supposed to have a say in it.
Right. And then on top of that, all them motherfuckers is crazier than we are. What are you talking about? Y'all was hopped up on psychedelics, which I like psychedelics, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that, like, you're going to sit here and shit on us because we like technology and communicating in a different way, but you humping the tree was the bee's knees, and we're supposed to just respect you in your time period. And then on top of that, the biggest thing that pisses me off is they conformed in the 70s
Yes.
and fucked the whole economy up. So
Not
now
only
we're
did
screwed.
they,
Go
not only
ahead.
did they conform, but they have perpetrated this myth that they are responsible for the civil rights movement, and they're not. It was the Great Generation that is responsible for the civil rights movement. And now there's a lot of problems with the Great Generation, but one of the things that they did, good or bad, is they finished it. They finished the things that they sought out to do. I mean, they came back from World War II. A lot of them did. A good chunk of them did. And they looked around and said, I don't like the way we're living. I don't like this existence I'm living, and I'm not doing this anymore. And they set a forth change. I mean, that's when the women's rights movement was born, because all those women worked in the factories and realized that they have self-worth and self-value, and that they can actually do things, and it's not really that hard for them to weld or do machinery or work in the office space, or the fact that a lot of these women were code breakers and physicists and were doing all this excellent work. And then as soon as the men come home, they were supposed to go back to the kitchen. And they said, fuck that. No. You had the, blacks coming back and going back into the civil rights movement, because for a long period of time, because of the depression and the economy, a lot of these movements were bogged down. And because of lynching, there was a significant fear. And because of, coming back and saying, they can lynch me all they want. My child is not living like this anymore. I'm not going to live like this. They set forth and built the stones to, the path for the civil rights movement to be one of the biggest movements that's happened in this country. It was renewed. I mean, it's always been there, but it had such a fervor that it carried on decades on end. It didn't end really until, quite frankly, they killed both Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and then it dissipated. And that is the fault of the baby boomers. It was not the fault of the Great Generation. I mean, they went through depressions. They went through World War II, Korea, the shittery. There was the Cold War, all the tribulations and turbulations that people talk about, of the upheaval, the social movements. That was them really predominantly experiencing all that. And they were exhausted by the time they hit 1970. So I don't blame them from not carrying on further and dealing with the economic inequities that were happening in the country. I mean, that was something that the baby boomers should have taken the mantle up and moved forward. And unfortunately, they did not do so. They went back, they conformed, and there was that was a period of time you're supposed to do when you're young and when it's all nice and fun, and that was it. So.
Right. Exactly. So this combo is getting deep, and it's getting a little too deep for YouTube. So we are going to have to bid y'all adieu. But obviously, Hiroja, stick around. We are going to take it over to the audio side. So peace out, YouTube. Check out the rest of the show on Saturday.